welcome back everyone to Top Cut of the Balance Patch Cup here in November 25.
Woohoo!
I'm June, joined by Jared. We are excited to bring you Top 8 from Balance Patch, and we are going to start just jumping right into our teams, looking at Stefan Mott's squad. I know that there may be, well actually I think there are a couple of things that might not be correct on the screen right now that you're looking at. There are some Pokemon in common between what you're seeing and Stefan's team.
Ah!
Yeah, so hey, we've got a little bit of time. It's going to be Stefan Mott and Ben Pacina is the match we're looking at here in top 8, Jared.
Stefan, I believe, was 5-0, if I remember.
That's yes, we're hearing from production. Yes, he did win that
On
final
that
round.
one.
I knew
Thanks,
he was 4-0. I couldn't remember how the fifth round had gone.
But that means he's yet to take a loss today. I think we actually have it correct this time. Yes, no, maybe so. There we go. Here is the real team. It is this Rain team that we've seen already on stream today. Has a lot of the classic Rain core during regulation. H, Pelipper, Basculegion, and Archwodon, including Incineroar, no Flare Blitz, and then Sinistcha and Ursaluna to round out the team. A little bit of Trick Room support on the end of that, and obviously Archwodon, Assault Vest, Stamina. That's one of the best Pokemon in the entire format.
Oh yeah, and mixing and matching some Rain team pieces. You know, the Sinistcha and the Ursaluna operating pretty effectively as just a 2 Pokemon Trick Room core. You know, the Archaludon can operate under Trick Room. The Incineroar is fairly slow, but a lot of speed control, a whole lot of damage coming out from this team. We'll see how it matches up with Ben's squad. Looking on the other side, not Rain here, but Sand that we're seeing with the Tyranitar, supported by that Kilowattrel, Annihilate, Incineroar, Garchomp, and Choice Specs Golden Go.
I love watching Sand. Sand is the first archetype I ever played in VGC. So every time I see somebody trying to make Sand work, it always makes me so happy. Especially considering that Tyranitar is one of the most popular pseudo-legendaries in the game. But running 2 of them in this team, that Garchomp on the side as well. Not Sand Veil, but doing the rough skin and then having Stomping Tantrum and Earthquake support as well. So if you get blood, question, I actually don't know this myself. If one of your Pokemon, if your own Pokemon blocks Earthquake, will that trigger Stomping Tantrum for the next turn?
That's such a good question. I believe so. If the Kilowattrel were to say not protect and Earthquake does not affect the Kilowattrel, I do believe that would activate Stomping Tantrum because it does, you know, on the other side. You know, even if it's just one of the 2.
That sounds fun.
That's really cool.
Sounds awesome.
It's actually something I hadn't considered with this team composition. A couple of interesting things, though, on Ben's side. You know, the Annihilate. A lot of times we'll have the safety goggles on this composition. Those are on the Incineroar. Citrus Berry for Annihilate with the Terra Grass. So you still can ignore things like the Rage Powder from the Sinistcha on the other side. The Kilowattrel, instead of Terra Ghost, right?
It's Terra
Yes,
Electric.
it is Terra Electric. I was just double checking to make sure that was correct. The Terra Electric Kilowattrel for those discharges next to something like the Garchomp can do a ton of damage. And we're going to see the Kilowattrel and the Garchomp right away from Ben, staring down the double Rain Sweeper, Basculegion, and Archaludon from Stefan's side.
So much spread damage incoming on the side of Ben Pacina, but Stefan Mott has navigated through worse scenarios today, and we've seen it on stream already. This is a very strong lead, especially because you always have choices. Not instantly throwing the Pelipper means that you are keeping in the back. You don't want to get sanded instantly, forcing a little bit of the swap game coming out early, and regardless of who you keep in, always benefits from that switch in.
Oh yeah, and with leading both of your Rain Sweepers, you do just get to pick whichever one is slower than your opponent's Pokemon, switch that out. In this case, it was the Archaludon. Now you get to double that Basculegion speed stat and get some big damage off on this first turn. It's a flip turn into the Kilowattrel, going to knock that down to its Focus Sash with the Choice Band, with the Rain Boost.
Would have been a KO?
What do you say?
It would have been a KO?
Absolutely would have been a KO.
Monstrous attack stat. Ugh. Adaptability. Ugh. Could you imagine if Crawdon actually got the Swift Swim
Oh my goodness.
early on in like Generation 4 or 5 when like Rain Team started being like the hard meta in VGCs?
Well, I'd still stick with that adaptability Crawdon. Just get Trick Room up and start crab hammering. But either way, now in the current day, we are going to see our Chaladon just switch sides of the field. Pelipper, of course, next to it this time. Tailwind is up on Ben's side, but Stefan does have the opportunity to match that this turn with the Pelipper if it doesn't go down to a double up from the Garchomp and the Kilowattrel.
You also see that the Archaeodon on the field is Bugterra. It's one of those types where you never really expect a bug type to like be a big part of why a Pokemon is good, unless there's some other part of the Pokemon working with the bug type. But for all the weaknesses that Archaeodon does have, it's a very good Terra type to prevent getting hit by earthquakes, high horsepowers, etc., etc.
Yeah, fighting moves now resist.
True.
The real issue with the bug-type terrestrialization is going to be something like that Air Slash from the Kilowattrel. You know, those flying-type moves, fire-type moves, which, of course, are mitigated by the rain here, as we're going to see the Discharge come out. Pelipper protects itself. Garchomp is immune, but it does get the paralysis. 30% chance on this Archaeodon that now no longer resists the electric-type damage.
Yeah, now it's going to take a resisted onto these Earthquake now, but that also is going to set up Stomping Tantrum for the next turn. But again, not really that strategy is now completely alleviated. Not really a target where Stomping Tantrum works very well.
And I was holding my breath a little bit there, Jared. With the paralysis on the Archaeodon, if it was going to be able to break through and get the KO onto the opposing Kilowattrel, it did, thankfully, for Stefan's side. But still not a great situation you're in. You know, you get, for Ben, you get the free switch into your Tyranitar. Stefan does get, you know, one turn of Tailwind out of the way, and the Archaeodon, for its credit, does get 2 boosts to its stamina, now at double of its regular defense stat. But it's going to be quite difficult with all the spread moves on Ben's side for the Pelipper to be able to set up that Tailwind.
Yeah, and this is unfortunately the 50-50 you really have to roll. Because at the end of the turn, if you get your Sash procted, you're getting KO'd to the tick damage from buffering. If you switch out, and that's kind of the really obvious decision. But incoming Terrestrialization onto Tyranitar to set up for another Earthquake on the side of Garchomp is going to take a little bit less damage in Incineroar because obviously of the Intimidate. Whoa.
Yeah, instead it is the Dragon Claw. You know, the Earthquake may not have made too much sense to Ben with the Bug-type Archaeodon and the Pelipper that began the turn on the field. But the Terraflying Terra Blast into a +3 defense Archaeodon, not that much damage.
Did not take anything.
Now at +4, and a Dragon Pulse comes out. It is enough after 2 ticks of Life Orb recoil, 2 tick down the Garchomp, and all of a sudden, even with what looked like a pretty clear advantage early in this game, Ben down to his final 2 Pokemon while Stefan's got all 4 available.
And obviously you can see that the tick damage is coming in to Tyranitar now because obviously switching off of the Rock type onto the Flying type. But Goldengo is going to now grab onto the field. Only one fake out target is always going to be Tyranitar, but I believe this Tyranitar is in fact Assault Vest, so there's not really a defensive thing you can really do here. Is this going to be, are we potentially going to just see ripping Make It Rain and hoping a KO comes out of here?
Yeah, it's difficult. There's not a ton the Goldengo can do at this moment. Thunderbolt may be its best opportunity. You know, it does have
Shadow Ball for the singular target damage.
Yeah, the Shadow Ball works as well. You know, the Goldengo, if it had had something like Power Gem, which you do see somewhat commonly on Choice Specs Goldengos, would have been a pretty nice move to lock into in front of this Incineroar. But now there's really just not great damage into the Incineroar for Ben's side. You know, the Intimidated Tyranitar not going to do as much damage as you would hope. The Goldengo's locked into Shadow Ball with the Choice Specs item. That's going to be resisted by the Incineroar. Again, not doing too much. And now the Basket Legion gets to come out as Tailwind. I still looked away for a second. There's still one more turn of Tailwind, right? We didn't see it expire?
I think it did peter out.
Okay.
I think I'm doubting my own perception right now.
Oh, man,
but regardless, even then, there's also the threat of Pelipper coming in and having no contesting because the weather cannot get reset by this Tyranitar, and that is exactly what Stefan is going to pull out of the bag. The former star is here, and no more dust storms. It's raining, baby.
Yeah, and if you're making this play, yes, it looks like Tailwind has ended. The Golden Go naturally going to outspeed the Basket Legion, so if Tailwind were active, Golden Go would have been faster still, likely, you know, if both Pokemon are trained as quickly as they can be. But Basket Legion taking out the Golden Go, Tyranitar taking out the Basket Legion, pretty fair trade if you're Stefan. So now you get another Intimidate on this Tyranitar, and the 2 versus 1 here with the Focus Dash still in your Pelipper. You're doing pretty well.
Yeah, the Rock Baby, unfortunately, is not able to take all of this back into its face. Another fake out. Another turn of flinching. Weather Ball is going to pop. Good amount of damage in there as well. Flinch, but there's not really much else you have in your locker here. Weather Ball is going to pop another good chunk of damage there, down to a last sliver, and Knockoff is going to clean it up. And Stefan taking game 1 with some fantastic play.
Yeah, and really, again, what we saw there, it looked like such a big advantage from Ben's side, you know, getting the Tailwind up, getting just all that damage down on Stefan's side early in the game, especially on that Archaludon, but just couldn't convert with the Garchomp and the Tyranitar, couldn't position the Golden Go and Tailwind for enough turns to really do all that much with it. And once Tailwind was over, Stefan just kind of got a steamroll with the Rain Sweepers in the back at the end. The Pelipper, the Basket Legion just doing their job, taking KOs.
Unfortunately, once you start losing your numbers in the Weather Wars, you're obviously going to be at such a disadvantage because you can't continuously swap between them. You have to, or then you have to swap into weaknesses or some kind of resistance that you don't really want in the moment, and that's just kind of how it goes. Rain is also way better for support than going into support for a lot of these Sand teams, obviously just because of the typing matchup.
Oh yeah, it's much, much more difficult for a Sand team to switch the Sand setter, in this case Tyranitar, in and out of the game than it is for the Rain team to switch their Pelipper in and out of the game. And so what we're going to see is, you know, Ben kind of recognizing, hey, my Golden Go wasn't all that valuable last game. You know, I only got 1 turn with it under Tailwind. I'm just going to lead it right here next to the Garchomp, put on a ton of offensive pressure, as Stefan does the same with that Basket Legion and Archaludon lead we saw in game 1.
Yeah, once again, you're going to see most likely a Pelipper swap in instantly again. But Goldengo is a lot more of a threat than the last week, because Goldengo's sheer power, especially with those specs, is going to be a threat if you guess wrong.
Oh yeah, the Golden Go, both with the opportunity to Terrastalize, could turn into that water type, and just like you mentioned, all of the attacking power that the Golden Go has, if Stefan can get this turn right, or sorry, if Ben can get this turn right on who Stefan switches out for that Pelipper, could be very difficult and an uphill battle for Stefan to get back into this game. We are going to see both Weather Setters switch in, but of course, speed priority determines who switches first. The Garchomp goes into Tyranitar before Basket Legion goes into Pelipper. Rain is set, and Golden Go does become a water type. Likely the Golden Go is going to be faster than this Archaludon. Typically that's the interaction we see with the Choice Specs Golden going in an Assault Vest Archaludon, and that's going to be confirmed here with the Order of Terastallization. But certainly a board state that hinges on the very razor's edge. What are these attacks, and who is being targeted here?
Most likely to be, yeah, the Shadow Ball keeping the consistency up for the single target damage does proc the Focus Sash, but it's still not, there isn't, unfortunately, if there was a Sandstorm still brewing, that's a lot better of a spot for, at least for Ben's team to be in. But this Electro Shot is going to absolutely demolish this Goldengo. The slot machine has been failed. You take your loss and back home you go. Goldengo on the field for a measly 1 turn.
Yeah, once again, just not as impactful as you need your Golden Go to be. Stefan taking a little bit of a sip from that soda as he picks up the first KO of this game too. And, just a turn that we were talking about, very, very volatile on that turn one. And it just so happened that terrestrialization, not the right call on Ben's side. Now this Archaludon becomes very, very difficult to deal with.
There's certain calcs that can survive a +1 electro shot from Arch as Goldango, but the Water Terra explosion.
Yeah, just not much you can do about that once you terrestrialize your Golden Go. And now Tyranitar staying in front of the Archaludon in the rain. Does get the knockout on Pelipper, but takes a little bit of damage from that +1 Dragon Pulse. And if you're Stefan, you have the opportunity. You can bring in your Incineroar for Fake Out and Intimidate, or you can bring out your Basket Legion because the Weather Setter on the other side's already on the field. Rain is going to be up for this turn, and you can just keep pressing that advantage as much as you can.
Yeah, you can. You have a very simple play here, and it is to swing unbelievably hard, either at one or at both, and that flip turn is going to take that Tyranitar out, bringing Ben down to his last Pokemon here. And Dragon Pulse was selected to cover T-Tar if it survived a hit, but unfortunately it did not, and that is going to be super effective, +1 damage into the Garchomp, and that is going to wrap this up.
Yeah, and as if that weren't enough, the Intimidate into the Garchomp makes sure that Dragon Claw doesn't do anywhere near enough damage. Sets up for this Archaludon's final KO. It picked up, what, I guess just 3.
Crit.
Actually, just 2 of the KOs here in the second game. Finished off with a critical hit, because why not? Critical hit's name of the game here at Balance Patch today, and
Extra damage.
yeah, you're going to see Stefan Mott, our first trainer confirmed, into the top 4 of our cup here today.
And he's proven it again. I do think that the difference between fighting the basic regulation H teams and the sand teams is a little bit different, but did not matter to Stefan. Very, very well done to navigate through the weather war almost perfectly.
Yeah. Player who's very experienced at playing with rain teams. It's almost like if you're a regional champion, you're pretty good at this game. Does a great job piloting this team, and to Ben's credit, made some great adjustments. Put on a lot more offensive pressure in that second game. Just really came down to 1 or 2 turns that could have gone either way, and leads us to a 2-0 Stefan Mott victory into top 4, and Ben content with that top cut here at Balance Patch. A very difficult tournament to get your way through.
Yeah, especially because again, you're running a sand team. That's a ground rock are not known as great defensive types.
Not always, no.
Not always. They listen. They might have high stats, but there's a reason for that because you've seen that, Matt. You've seen that spread. Those tables on Bulbapedia, man. Oh yeah.
Type chart's not the fondest of teams like Ben's, but we are going to see some more great Pokemon action coming up after this break, heading into top 4 of the Balance Patch Cup. Stay with us right here.